of the show.
You're watching News Channel 2 at Sunrise with Gary Liberatore.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I'm Gary Liberatore.
Yeah, I'm Storm Tracker 2 meteorologist Eric Gage.
And a lot of people resting this morning after doing a lot of shoveling yesterday, right?
Yeah, pretty active yesterday. Calm after the storm, a great way to say it. However, it is going to be calm before the next storm. We've got something coming tomorrow that we are mainly focused on. We're actually thinking this is a higher impact event than what we saw over the weekend, but of course, taking it one system at a time. I wanted to talk about that first. Now our attention will be on tomorrow. For today, though, things are looking relatively quiet. A few lake effect flurries and clouds here and there with temperatures starting out in the 20s. As you can see here on the radar too, nothing too notable at this point, but turn our attention to tomorrow after we head into quiet weather tonight. Strong low pressure. This is going to be a much stronger system than what we saw over the weekend, but we're on the warm side of this. We're not going to see all that snow, but it's going to start out as a wet snow to a wintry mix, quickly switching over to rain. The primary concern with this is going to be possible damaging winds of wind gusts up to 50 miles per hour or more, especially in those higher elevations. It could be concerns for power outages in that situation as well. And then after that, the lingering rain showers could lead to flooding concerns as well. So we'll talk more about that coming up in a few minutes. But again, for today, enjoy the relatively quiet weather before things turn active once again tomorrow. I'll explain it more detail in our full forecast, what to expect with the risks, the wind gusts across the area, and possible snowfall accumulation coming up. Back to you, Gary.
Eric, thanks. And don't forget, the Storm Tracker 2 forecast is never more than 10 minutes away. Developing this morning, just hours.
The WKTV Tower Cam is brought to you by the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired.
Good morning and welcome back. Happy Monday. Time now for your morning commute cast. As you head out the door, a live look at downtown Utica from our Nexus camera. The roads are much more clear than what they were yesterday. Temperatures below freezing, 24 degrees, but this is a similar scene, not only as you can see here in downtown Utica, but even as you head up parts of Route 8 and even side roads have been treated, and most of them plowed. And on live look in Cooperstown, there is still some snow on the roads, but again, it is plowed. There shouldn't be any true travel concerns, especially for us here in upstate New York. We're used to this type of snow on the roads. And lastly, you can see here Route 8, Route 20, things are looking pretty quiet down there as well. Roads treated and wet, and same thing on I-90 as we look across to the Herkimer Mohawk exit. Arterial looking clear as well. And so again, for today, mostly cloudy skies, temperatures warming up into the low 30s. No travel concerns expected for your morning and evening commute. That could change tomorrow as we are tracking a return to some wintry weather, starting out as wet snow, then switching over to some rain showers. Talk about that in detail coming up. Back to you, Gary.
Eric, thanks. It's been a little over 3 months since. As we mentioned earlier, folks are digging out after the first big snowfall of the season to hit the area. It's a storm likely to leave many people dealing with some lasting impacts. The big storm left a blanket of snow across the city of Utica, as you can see. With that, a winter wonderland has been created. Many people officially had to break out the snow blowers and shovels for the first time here in 2024 as they took to their driveways to clear paths for themselves. As for the kids, the snow always proves it can be a fun time. This is perfect weather for them to get out there and get some sledding in for the first time, as some did yesterday.
From Central New York's most dependable weather team, here's meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good morning. As Gary just said, it was definitely one of our first true wintry systems here in central New York. If you do like the snow and you are willing to go out and enjoy it for today, do it, because by tomorrow things will change. A live look at Oneonta from our camera atop Hartwick College. Pretty quiet weather, a beautiful scene in the city of the hills right now. And look at the today planner. Normal high 32, normal low 18 this time of year. And you can see those temperatures right around average. So we're now entering a more typical winter pattern for this time of the year in early January. And a live look at the Yorkville Battery Storm Tracker 2 top of the radar. All is quiet here in central New York this morning. We could be seeing a few scattered lake effect flurries on the radar as the morning progresses, but we'll get to that as the daytime moves on. The big story is going to be tomorrow. Now that the weekend's weather is over with, we can turn our attention to what we've been focusing on here in the Weather Center a lot more than the one we saw this weekend. And it's going to be to the possibility of strong, even damaging winds on Tuesday, especially in the higher elevations. Again, we do have quiet weather today, but our attention will be on tomorrow. And as you can see here, things are relatively quiet here in the Northeast. You can see a few scattered lake effect snow showers moving across the Great Lakes right now. But looking out to the southwest, a strong low pressure is starting to form. This one will be stronger than the system that we saw over the weekend, but it's going to track west of us, meaning that we're not going to see the entirely snow event that we saw over the weekend. We're going to be seeing starting out as wet snow, then switching over to some rain showers. And as you can see here on our Skycast, good quiet weather for today. Still some scattered lake effect, light snow and flurries, nothing major. Temperatures tonight also falling down into the low 20s. Then by Tuesday, starting out quiet, then we're starting to see some snow, and this could be wet in nature. Those temperatures right around freezing. Then the warm air surged in with that strong wind. You can see the dark blues indicating wet snowfall, primarily in areas in northern Herkimer County, where those temperatures are still lingering right around freezing. But as you can see, areas south will have already switched over to rain, and then by the overnight hours, all entirely rain showers here and there. But another thing, too, are going to be the gusty winds. Take a look at this right here. Now, normally we see wind gusts 30, 40 miles per hour. This is showing all purple, 50 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts in some parts of the area. And this could cause a concern for damage as well as some power outages if that wet snow sticks to some locations, especially in the highest elevations. So if you do have loose things outside in your yard, definitely want to strap them down as we approach tomorrow evening. And along with that too, we can't rule out flooding concerns as well, as with that snow melt comes additional rain accumulation across a lot of the area. And so just a heads up for that as well. And so for today, still pretty quiet, mostly cloudy, a few flurries, highs in the low 30s. Tonight, low 23 with still mostly cloudy skies. Your 7-day forecast, alert day for tomorrow again, with the potential for ranking them, gusty, possibly damaging winds being the #1 concern. Then snow for your evening commute, that's #2. And then finally, the possibility of some minor flooding, because of course we've had all that rain in December, additional snowfall, the soil is saturated. Any additional rainfall we get could pose a flooding concern.
A lot of people going to keep an eye on that, that's for sure. Eric, thanks. The time right now is 5:22. Over the years,
Now, you're watching News Channel 2 at sunrise with Gary Liberator.
and thank you for joining us for this half hour. I'm Gary Liberator.
I'm Storm Tracker 2, meteorologist Eric Gage.
And a lot of people's backs may be a little sore today from all that shoveling that we're not used to.
Yeah, that's right. And thankfully the snow was not that wet, clumpy snow that's hard to shovel. It was a little bit on the fluffier side, a bit average. So yeah, but it was definitely a good amount of snow, and we're not used to that, at least this winter, that's for sure. Now, with the quiet weather today, our attention will turn to tomorrow and the potential for a variety of weather concerns. But first, though, as you head out the door, temperatures in the 20s with partly cloudy to mostly cloudy skies. And as you can see here, quiet on the Yorkville Battery Storm Tracker 2 top of the radar. We could be seeing a few lake effect flurries today from Lake Ontario. Again, quiet weather returns tonight, but our attention turns to tomorrow as strong low pressure forms just to the west of our area. So we've made it a Storm Tracker 2 alert day. It starts out as snow in the afternoon and evening, wet snow, changing over to a wintry mix briefly, then over to rain. The primary concern is going to be potential for damaging winds, strong winds up to 50 mile per hour wind gusts, possible in higher elevations. And then there's also a minor concern with some flooding in flood-prone areas due to snowmelt and, of course, the widespread rain we're expecting tomorrow night. And so we do have weather alerts in effect for the area. The almost dark gold bronze color is a high wind watch. That's for Oneida and Herkimer County, and a wind advisory is in place for Shenango and Otsego County. That's for tomorrow. Again, today, weather's quiet as you head out the door, with temperatures climbing into the low 30s by this afternoon. Still looking quiet tonight, and then we are tracking that wintry system arriving tomorrow on the warm side of that, so we'll be seeing a snow changing over to some rain heading into the evening. Full details on that and that full forecast coming up. Back to you, Gary.
Eric, thanks. Decision 2024 now. This is the...
Good morning. Welcome back to News Channel 2 at sunrise. Of course, with it being back to a Monday, it's time to showcase our weather photo of the day. This one is a really cool one. Take a look at this 15-foot snowman built in East Herkimer. It was definitely a long time coming. We haven't had the snowfall for that, and so I know I would have the patience to build something like this. I built an igloo back in college and high school, but again, no 15-foot snowman. So again, fantastic build right there. Of course, submit any of your snowman pictures or any weather photos to us at wktv.com/weather/pics. We'll be sure to showcase all your fine creations. This one, of course, sent in by Tracy Cunningham. And a look at current conditions right now. First off, temperatures in the teens and 20s. 24 Westmoreland, 23 Richfield Springs, 19 degrees as they head up in the North Country, up in Inlet. And on the radar, quiet. With a few lingering lake effect flurries in some parts of the area for today. But weather, again, turns active by tomorrow. I'm breaking it all down with the risks, including gusty winds, wet snow, and possible power outages and flooding coming up. Back to you, Gary.
Eric, thanks. And while we were dealing with snow, those in South Florida had some even wilder weather to contend with. Tornado touched down several times in Fort Lauderdale. This video shows Saturday night's tornado hitting some buildings and electrical transformers. The twister appears to touch down in 3 different locations. The good news here, no one was hurt. The Supreme Court is set to consider its...
The WKTV Tower Cam is brought to you by the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired. From Central New York's most dependable weather team, here's meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good morning and welcome back. Quiet weather is expected for your Monday with cool temperatures in the 20s at this point. A live view of our camera atop Oneonta, or atop Hartwood College in Oneonta. You can see a bit on the cool side, 25 degrees. Of course, quiet conditions today. Highs are expected to climb into the low 30s with a few lingering lake effect flurries here and there, but nothing major. And on the radar at this point, things are looking quiet. You can track a few spotty flurries picking up on the radar just off of Lake Ontario at this point. But our attention is going to be on tomorrow. We got calm winds today. Potential for damaging winds tomorrow. We don't usually put this meter this high on our wind outlook, but definitely tomorrow calls for that, with wind gusts possibly between 40 and 60 miles per hour, especially in those higher elevations. And look at what's going to be happening. Well, we got quiet weather here in the Northeast right now, lake effect snow coming off the Great Lakes. Out to the west, especially the southwest, we've got low pressure just over New Mexico right now. This will sweep up to the north, called a western runner. So we'll be on the warm side of this. We're not going to see entirely snow. It will start out as wet snow before quickly switching over to some rain showers. And timing it out in our Skycast. Again, today, things are looking quiet. A few lake effect flurries here and there. Temperatures climbing into the low 30s. Then by tonight, still looking quiet, but then by tomorrow, notice how these winds are starting to pick up here. Around noontime, the afternoon, wet snow will start to form over some parts of the area, then quickly switch over to some rain, especially in the southern valleys. Take a little bit longer in the higher elevations by the evening, with wet snow still falling up there. But the main concern following this is going to be the wind gusts. Take a look at this right here. Normally we see wind gusts on our forecast in the 30 to 40 mile per hour range. This is 50 to 60. So this is going to be a very strong event pushing through our area as we approach tomorrow evening. So just a heads up, there could be some possible power outages if some wet snow does stick to power lines. And of course, if you have anything that could blow away, to strap them down. And another minor concern tomorrow is going to be some rain accumulation across the area with rainfall totals nearing 1/2 inch to 1 inch. And so for today, highs in the low 30s, mostly cloudy. A few flurries tonight, low 23 degrees with mostly cloudy skies. Your 7-day forecast, again, concerns for tomorrow, ranked from 1 to 3, damaging winds possible in higher elevations, snow for your evening commute, and then minor flooding possible in flood-prone areas.
Watching News Channel 2 at sunrise with Gary Liberatore.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us on this Monday morning. I'm Gary Liberatore.
And I'm Storm Tracker 2, meteorologist Eric Gage.
And for those who procrastinated yesterday and didn't get outside to shovel, got a lot to do this morning, right?
Yeah, good amount of snow out there. The snow, thankfully, wasn't that wet, hard to shovel stuff, but it was definitely a bit of a wake-up call for those of us to just haven't seen that snow in, what was it, how long have we seen that
year.
snow? Yeah, probably around that time, yeah. Again, today, it's looking quiet if you have anything to do, drive anywhere for today, heading out to work. But things will change tomorrow. We've made it a Storm Tracker 2 alert day because, yet again, weather turns active as we approach the middle of the work week. Let's take a look at the current conditions right now. Starting out, 27 degrees in Hamilton and Madison County, but a sharp drop-off with clear skies moving in some parts of the area, down to 18 up in Rome, 17 up in Boonville as well, just out of Remsen, 22 degrees. But as you head down into the Mohawk Valley, those temperatures are in the low to mid-20s as well. And in the Yorkville Battery, Storm Tracker 2 top of the radar. All is quiet here locally, but as you look to the west, you can see just a few minor lake effect flurries coming off of Lake Ontario. That'll be the weather story for today. Relatively quiet with a few lake effect flurries. Quiet again tonight, but strong low pressure arrives tomorrow. This system is going to be stronger than the system that moved over our area this past weekend, but we're not going to be on the snowy side. It'll be on the warm side, which means that it'll start out as snow, then switch over to rain. So alert day for tomorrow, again, starts out as snow Tuesday afternoon, switching over to a wintry mix briefly, then over to rain. Damaging winds are the primary concern with this. 50 mile per hour or more wind gusts are possible in higher elevations tomorrow night and in the evening. And on top of that, the lowest concern, but it's still there, with heavier rainfall and snowmelt, could produce minor flooding in poor drainage areas. So here's a look at the weather alerts across the area. The dark gold, almost bronze, in Oneida and Herkimer County indicates a high wind watch. Otsego County and Shenango County in just a wind advisory. And for today, again, mostly cloudy skies, temperatures climbing into the low 30s. A bit of a break in the weather briefly for today before, yet again, more active weather returns tomorrow. I'll time it all out and talk about all the risks in that full forecast coming up. Back to you, Gary.
Eric, thanks. Developing this morning, just hours from now, we expect to learn more from you.
The WKTV Tower Cam is brought to you by the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired.
Good morning and welcome back. It definitely looks more like winter out there, more typical for central New York standards. And looking at your morning commute cast, the road crews thankfully have been out all of yesterday, all of the previous night, clearing out the roads for all of us. And as you can see here, relatively quiet conditions on the roads, wet as you can see there, but looking clear. Temperatures in Utica currently at 23 degrees. Looking Cooperstown, roads still have a light layer of snow on them, but of course they're plowed and should have no real issue driving on them as well. Currently 28 down in Cooperstown, and a live view from across the Utica area, even farther to the south. Route 8, Route 20, roads looking clear. Same for the arterial. Same for I-90 as well as North Genesee Street in Utica. And with no impactful snow expected today, just a few lingering lake effect flurries. No travel impacts are expected for your morning and for your evening commute. This will be different tomorrow as we are tracking a return to some wet snow in the evening hours, followed by rain showers overnight on Tuesday. Full details on that coming up. Back to you, Gary.
Eric, thanks. It's been a little over 3 months now since the
Central New York's most dependable weather team. Here's meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good morning and welcome back. After the widespread snow yesterday, we can already see up in Old Forge. Those of you who love riding snowmobiles are able to finally go out there on the trails. You can see look at the trails right now on our Old Forge camera, looking not on Main Street, but of course just up there as well along the trails. And temperatures in the North Country currently at 20 degrees. And here locally, temperatures in the teens and 20s as well, climbing into the low 30s by this afternoon, so pretty typical for this time of year. And a live look at the Yorkville Battery Storm Tracker 2 top of the radar. Here locally, all is quiet, but out to the west, we can see a few lake effect flurries starting to form off Lake Ontario. Now, that'll be the main weather story for today. Nothing major is expected weather-wise. However, things will change by tomorrow. We've been tracking this since last week, and it's been pretty consistent. However, we had to keep our attention to the weekend storm. And now that has passed, we can finally talk about what's expected tomorrow. Windy, possibly damaging winds expected tomorrow evening, especially on the hilltops south and west of Utica. And this is all due to low pressure way out forming in the southwest. This will track west of central New York, called a western runner. So it's not going to be a nor'easter. We're not going to see the steady snowfall for a day at a time, but it will start out as wet snow, then switch over to brief wintry mix, and then rain showers. And there could be concerns for minor flooding in flood-prone areas heading into early Wednesday morning from that as well. So I'll talk briefly about what to expect today. Again, mostly cloudy skies, a few lingering flurries here and there. Again, looking pretty quiet with temperatures climbing only into the low 30s. Then by tomorrow, it starts out quiet. Then by the afternoon, we're starting out with some wet snow in some locations across the area. As that warm air continues to erode the cold air in place, it'll switch over from snow to sleet, then freezing rain possible, and then finally some rain. But I think the changeover from snow to rain will be fairly quickly. However, in some locations in the highest elevations, you can see that it's still going to be wet snow. So any accumulations expected in terms of snow will primarily be in the highest elevations in Herkimer County. And then additional rain showers are expected overnight. The main concern tomorrow is going to be those gusty winds. 40 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts, 60 most likely in the highest elevations, south and east of Utica, or south and west of Utica, but still a lot of gusty winds tomorrow. Could be seeing some scattered power outages. And of course, if you do have things that are loose around the yard, want to strap them down for tomorrow as well. For today, high 34, mostly cloudy, a few flurries tonight. Low at 23 with mostly cloudy skies. Your 7-day forecast, alert day again for tomorrow. Ranking the risks for the alert day. Again, strong, possibly damaging winds, the primary concern. After that, it's going to be a snow for evening commute, switching over to rain, and then finally a low concern for minor flooding in flood-prone areas.
Quite the ride ahead tomorrow.
Yes, pretty active weather.
Yeah, that's for sure. Eric, thanks. Be sure to like us on Facebook.
Now, you're watching News Channel 2 at sunrise with Gary Liberatore.
Good morning, and thank you for joining us for this half hour. I'm Gary Liberatore.
And I'm Storm Tracker 2, meteorologist Eric Gage.
And the snow has come to an end, right?
Yes, temporarily. Well, we got some flurries here and there today, but the nor'easter has passed us to the east, and now those of you who are missing out on the snow are enjoying all the nor'easter had to offer. But we have a quiet weather today, briefly. We return to more active weather again tomorrow. We've been monitoring this system on Tuesday for the past week or so, but we're taking a storm at a time. This could bring with it the chance for some damaging winds, as well as minor flooding issues in flood-prone areas. But before we get to that, though, as you head out the door today, temperatures starting out in the teens and 20s. Clear skies moved in briefly over Rome, causing those temperatures in northern Atlantic County to plummet down into 15 degrees currently, but 27, a little warmer as you head down to Hamilton and Madison County. A live look at the radar here across the three counties, looking pretty quiet. However, out to the west, you can see just A weak lake effect flurries pushing into our area. Again today, minor light snow and flurries here and there. Nothing major in terms of snowfall, at least compared to what we saw over the weekend. Quiet weather again tonight, but again, strong low pressure arrives tomorrow. This system will be stronger than the system that arrived over the weekend, but it's not going to be strong in the sense of bringing snowfall. It's the fact that the low pressure is much stronger, meaning that the winds will be stronger. And how strong? But I'm talking about 40 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts that could reach the surface, especially in the higher elevations. There could be concerns for wind damage as well as some power outages if wet snow sticks to some of the power lines. The precipitation starts out as wet snow, then switches over to briefly wintry mix, and then it'll rain by the overnight hours. And as you can see here, we do have weather alerts in effect for some parts of the area. Notice the bronze color on your screen indicating a high wind watch for Oneida and Herkimer County, a wind advisory for Shenango and Otsego. And for today, again, pretty quiet weather with mostly cloudy skies, a few light snow showers and flurries here and there with highs in the low 30s. As we approach tomorrow, again, the weather turns active once more. I'll explain all the latest details and our latest thoughts in that full forecast coming up. Back to you, Gary.
Eric, thanks. Decision 2024 now. This is Supreme Court is set to hear this year is related to the medical abortion drug mifepristone. Well, singer Michael Bolton is taking a break for the holiday.
Most dependable weather team. Here's meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good morning. Happy Monday. The nor'easter over the weekend has since passed us out to the east. Things are looking quiet for today, but we return to yet again more active weather by tomorrow. Here's a live view of downtown Utica from our Nexus camera. Heading to work today, roads are good thanks to the road crews who put in their hard work last night as well as throughout the day yesterday. And taking a look at current conditions across the area on the Yorkville Battery Storm Tracker 2 Doppler radar, we're dealing with some light lake effect snow showers off of Lake Ontario for today. More in the term of light flurries here and there, but nothing major in terms of winter weather. However, now that the weekend's nor'easter has passed, we can turn our attention to the main focus that the weather team has been looking at for the past week, which is going to be tomorrow. Gusty, possibly damaging winds expected by tomorrow evening in some parts of the area, especially in the higher elevations south and east of Utica, in portions of Madison County, in the highest elevations in Onondaga County. And this is all due to a strong low pressure starting to form currently in the southwest. This will track west of our area. It's called a western runner, which means that even though it's going to be stronger than what we saw over the weekend, it's not going to be strong in the sense of seeing a lot of snow, more so that the winds will be stronger as the low pressure will be a much stronger system, especially up here as it approaches the northeast. And looking at our skycast, again, briefly talking about today, it's looking relatively quiet, a few scattered light snow showers here and there, nothing major. Temperatures climbing into the low 30s for highs. Quiet tonight, lows falling into the mid to low 20s, and then by tomorrow morning, it's looking quiet. Then winds pick up. By tomorrow afternoon, a round of precipitation starting out as light to moderate wet snow, as there is cold air trapped near the surface. That warm air surges in with those stronger winds, and it switches over to rain, especially south of Route 20 and I-90, but areas in the North Country, especially in Herkimer County, could still see some wet snow lingering into the evening. Regardless, it will all turn over to rain showers by early Wednesday morning before more light snow is expected throughout the day on Wednesday. And in terms of forecasted wind gusts, we usually don't see numbers like this here in central New York. 40 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts. This could be a concern for power outages if wet snow clings to some power lines, as well as a concern for some wind damage on trees and stuff. And of course, if you have anything that's out in the yard that might blow away, I recommend bringing that inside, especially by tomorrow evening. That's when the strongest winds look to develop over central New York. And on top of that, another minor concern for tomorrow is going to be potential for minor flooding in flood-prone areas. As you can see here, more rain showers are expected following that light to moderate snowfall in the early afternoon. And for today, again, highs in the low 30s, mostly cloudy, a few flurries tonight, mostly cloudy, low at 23 degrees. 7-day forecast, alert day for tomorrow, recapping the main concerns. Number one, possible damaging winds, especially in the higher elevations. Could see some scattered isolated power outages. Number two, could have some tricky travel for evening commute with wet snow on some of the roads, especially in the higher elevations north and east of Utica. And then finally, some minor flooding in flood-prone areas. So a lot to get through tomorrow. We'll be following this throughout the afternoon today, as well as even in tomorrow.
Hope for the best tomorrow, that's for sure. Eric, thanks. The time right now is 6:53. Still ahead on.
Now, you're watching News Channel 2 at 7 a.m. on CW 11 with Gary Liberatore.
Good morning, and thank you for joining us here on the CW 11. I'm Gary Liberatore.
And I'm Storm Tracker 2, meteorologist Eric Gage.
With enough snow out there yesterday to build a 15-foot snowman, huh?
That was so impressive.
That picture was incredible.
I'll have to share it when we get to the next weather segment in just a bit. But yeah, it's definitely been a lacking winter on the snowfall side of things, and we're finally seeing it. And as quickly as it's showing up, some of us might start to see that snow melt as early as tomorrow. We've got another wintry system arriving, a strong low pressure that will bring with it some rain showers by the evening hours tomorrow. But for today, though, enjoy the relatively quiet weather. Heading out the door today, temperatures starting out in the 20s and teens. Currently 18 degrees at Griffiths and Rome, 27, a little bit warmer in Hamilton. But as you can see out in Syracuse, some light lake effect snow showers taking place out there. That'll be the main story for today. Mostly cloudy, light snow showers here and there, nothing major. Quiet weather moves in again tonight, but our attention turns to strong low pressure arriving tomorrow. We made it a Storm Tracker 2 alert day for a variety of things. First off, starts out as wet snow Tuesday afternoon, changing over to a wintry mix and eventually rain. My thoughts are it'll switch over to rain fairly quickly. Damaging winds possible, 40 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts, especially in higher elevations during the evening hours. And there is a concern for some minor flooding in flood-prone areas due to rain showers as well. And there are weather alerts, high wind watch in effect for Oneida and Herkimer County, as well as Madison County, and wind advisory in effect for Shenango and Otsego County. And for today, again, relatively quiet weather, some peaks of clear skies this morning before mostly cloudy skies, and again, light lake effect snow showers here and there move through the area. We're tracking the latest details in that forecast for tomorrow in detail coming up. Back to you, Gary.
Eric, thanks. And don't forget the Storm Tracker 2 forecast, never more than 10 minutes away. Developing this morning, just hours from now.
From Central New York's most dependable weather team, here's meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good morning and welcome back. Happy Monday. Quiet weather moves in today with some light lake effect snow here and there. Our attention, though, will be on the active weather tomorrow. Here's a live look in Old Forge. The snowmobilers loving the fresh snowpack on the ground right there. You can see a live view of the snowmobile trail up there as well. Currently 20 degrees up in the North Country. And a live view of downtown Utica. We got a brief period of clear skies before the cloud layer moved in once more. But as you can see, heading out the door this morning, roads are looking pretty clear, of course, thanks to all the hard work of the road crews. Live look at the radar. We're dealing with some lake effect light snow showers taking place across some parts of the area today. Nothing major, at least compared to what we saw over the weekend, but enough to maybe produce a light coating of snow over some parts of the area this afternoon. Other than that, though, mostly cloudy skies. Our attention, now that the weekend weather is over with, is on Tuesday. For tomorrow, gusty, possibly damaging winds possible Tuesday evening as a strong low pressure starts to form. In fact, is already forming over the southwest right now. This will track west of central New York, called the Western Runner, meaning that this system, although it will be stronger than the one over the weekend, will not produce all that snow, steady snow for 24 hours or so, but enough to produce a brief round of wet snow in the early evening that could cause tricky travel before switching over to rain showers and gusty winds in the evening and overnight. And so in our skycast for today, again, light lake effect snow showers here and there, nothing major, temperatures falling into the 20s overnight tonight. Then by tomorrow, starting out quiet, mostly cloudy skies, The round of wet snow starts to form in the early afternoon. Then it will gradually switch over to rain. It'll probably switch over quickly in the southern valleys south of Route 20, but it might hang around a little longer on the wet snow side as you head into higher elevations in Herkimer County. Regardless, it switched over to entirely rain by the overnight hours, but of course the main concern is going to be gusty, possibly damaging winds. We don't usually see 40 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts here in central New York. So something to monitor. Could see some scattered to isolated power outages, as well as maybe some downed trees and wind damage with this system, especially downsloping off of the higher elevations in just south of the Mohawk Valley. And so for today, again, highs in the low 30s, mostly cloudy, a few flurries tonight, mostly cloudy, low 23 degrees. 7-day forecast, again, eyes are on tomorrow. Lingering light rain for Wednesday, lake effect snow on Thursday, another system monitor next weekend.
Storm and the calm before the storm. As we said earlier, we said goodbye to one winter system, and now another one is heading our way. Meteorologist Eric Gage is tracking it all in the Weather Center. Hey there, Eric.
Hey, Gary. Yeah, that's right. The calm before and after the storm. Quiet weather for the most part today. Some lingering lake effect flurries, but a nice scene taking a live view down in Utica from our Cavey Tower camera. Uncharacteristic so far this winter. A lot of snow on the ground, and so far temperatures are ranging in the upper 20s to right above freezing. Some of our sky watchers reporting 33 degrees in the Mohawk Valley, especially down in Mohawk and Ilion. And for today, again, relatively quiet weather. We're seeing a few scattered lake effect snow showers and flurries on the radar right now, but again, nothing major and nothing like what we saw over the weekend. But our attention turns to tomorrow. Now that the weekend is over and done with, this is going to be a stronger system than we saw on Saturday night and Sunday. Starting out as snow, wet snow tomorrow afternoon, changing over to a wintry mix briefly, then over to rain showers. And the primary concern is going to be the possibility of damaging winds between 40 and 60 mile per hour wind gusts, especially in higher elevations, and I'll explain the exact locations that are at highest risk coming up in a few minutes. And on top of that, too, there's a low chance for minor flooding in flood-prone areas, but thankfully a lot of the excessive rainfall currently with this system is going to pass south and east of our area. These are the weather alerts, wind alerts, I should say, for a lot of the central New York this afternoon, and this is again for tomorrow afternoon. You can see Oneida County, Herkimer County in high wind watches, and Shenango and Otsego County currently at wind advisories. And for today, again, enjoy the quiet weather as things turn active again tomorrow. Could cause some tricky travel situations for your evening commute with that wet snow, plus again, possible power outages and wind damage from those gusty winds in the evening. I'm timing it all out. I'm explaining everything in detail in that full forecast coming up. Back to you, Gary.
Eric, thanks. House Republicans are calling for Hunter Biden to be held in contempt.
The WKTV Tower Cam is brought to you by the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired. From Central New York's most dependable weather team, here's meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good morning and welcome back, or good afternoon and welcome back. Happy Monday. Temperatures are starting out in the 30s right now with mostly cloudy skies. We've already seen a few flurries pass through the area. Let's take a live look at downtown Utica from our Nexus camera. Road's a little bit wet right now, and again, those temperatures in the upper 20s, low 30s with calm winds. However, that will change as we head into tomorrow. A live look at the Yorkville Battery Storm Tracker 2 top of the radar. We can see relatively quiet conditions, a few stray lake effect flurries here and there, but again, nothing major weather-wise in store for us today. Our attention turns to tomorrow. There is a strong low pressure system arriving from the southwest, bringing the possibility of gusty and even damaging winds to some parts of the area, especially downsloping from the southeast to the northwest. I'll explain more on that in just a minute. First, though, I'll explain exactly what causes wind before I explain the whole wintry system set to arrive. So imagine you have two cans of soda. One is normal and one you've shaken a little bit. Notice the air pressure inside of the normal can is relatively high, but the air pressure inside the one you shook is very high. And the can tries to balance the pressure in between both the can and the air around it. And as you can see, once you open the can, it balances back down to normal. So pressure between the can outside and inside is normal. But when you shake it up, the pressure is higher, and the can, of course, a lot of you probably know from opening soda cans, you shake it, the air comes out pretty fast. That's a similar story to what goes on in the atmosphere. You've got weak high pressure and weak low pressure. The difference in pressure right here causes wind. And when you basically shake the atmosphere, relatively, with the high and low pressure, that's what causes stronger winds. And as you can see here in the bigger picture for tomorrow, we've got strong high pressure set in place northeast of central New York, and a strong low pressure set up southwest of central New York. And because these are so close and they're so strong, windy conditions will set up right here in central New York. And just how windy? Well, we don't usually see wind gusts this strong across the area. Starting out in the evening hours between 40 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts, but the main focus of gusty winds will be downwind of the southeastern wind direction. So as you can see here, downsloping off the Catskills and Oneonta, downsloping off the southern valleys and parts of Syracuse and portions of I-90, and of course downsloping off the Tug Hill area over in Watertown. And the winds pick up in the mid-afternoon, and the possible damaging winds occur during the overnight hours. And with this system, there's still some chances for accumulating snow, but primarily in the highest elevations. The changeover is fairly quickly. It might be very hard for some of this snow to stick. Trace 2 inches for a lot of the Mohawk Valley, and of course, slightly higher totals as you head up north. And real quickly, taking a look at the forecast for this afternoon, again, looking pretty quiet with mostly cloudy skies, a few flurries. Then heading into tomorrow, starting out as wet snow, then switching over to rain, maybe some places of sleet as you approach the overnight hours. And so again, for today, highs in the low 30s, mostly cloudy, a few flurries tonight, mostly cloudy, a low 23 degrees. 7-day forecast, alert day for tomorrow, lingering light rain and snow on Wednesday, breezy on Thursday with lake effect snow, and then more wintry weather is on the way as we head into Saturday and Sunday of this coming weekend. Gary?
Eric, thanks. Coming up, a piece of a jet blue this half hour. Once again, here's meteorologist Eric Gage.
We're still tracking active weather tomorrow, but for today, let's enjoy the quiet weather as well as enjoy all the snow we have seen over the past 48 hours. A live look at the local temperatures, 29 at Griffith Rome, a little warmer as you head down into the southern valleys, 34 degrees in Hamilton. In the Mohawk Valley, our Skywatch is reporting temperatures above freezing at 33 degrees in Mohawk and in Ilion. And a live look at the radar, we can see just some light lake effect snow showers and flurries taking place here and there. Again, nothing major is set up for today. Winds are on the calm side. No significant weather system in store for us today. That changes as we head into tomorrow. Primarily tomorrow afternoon. The morning starts out quiet. Then by the afternoon, some wet snow starts to fall as southerly winds move into the area. Then that warm air changes that wet snow over to rain after a wintry mix. But the main concern is going to be some pretty strong winds, possibly damaging in some locations between 40 and 60 mile per hour wind gusts, especially in the higher elevations in Tuesday night. There also is a minor concern for minor flooding in flood-prone areas, but thankfully the heaviest rainfall currently sets up south and east of our area. Weather alerts across the area. We're seeing high wind watches for Oneida and Herkimer County and wind advisories in Shenango and Otsego County. And for today, again, still remaining quiet, but we are going to continue to follow the latest developments on the system arriving tomorrow. And of course, all latest details in that full forecast coming up. Back to you, Gary.
Eric, thanks. And that weekend winter storm actually left a trail of snow and rain up and down the East Coast. And now, as Eric mentioned, many, including us here in central New York, are bracing for the next storm. NBC's Kathy Park has more from Worcester, Massachusetts.
Much of the country is digging out from the weekend storm, while others are bracing for more severe weather this week. Here in Worcester, if you take a look around, we got a lot of snow, roughly 13 inches, but other portions of New England saw more than that, closer to 18 inches in some spots. And the quickly accumulating snow led to some slick conditions on the roadways, leading to a lot of wrecks and spinouts. There were several reported throughout the state of Massachusetts, and tens of thousands of customers were without power at the height of the storm. Meanwhile, we are tracking some severe weather across the plains. Right now, blizzard-like conditions being reported, while portions of the Gulf Coast, they are bracing for tornadoes throughout the day today and throughout the overnight hours. Back here on the East Coast, rain is in the forecast Tuesday into Wednesday. That could lead to rapid snowmelt and increase the chance of flash floods. Reporting from Worcester, Kathy Park, NBC News.
Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin was hospitalized.
The WKTV Tower Cam is brought to you by the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired. From Central New York's most dependable weather team, here's meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good afternoon and welcome back. Quiet weather for today as road conditions were greatly improved this morning compared to yesterday morning. Of course, all thanks to the road crews who were hard at work last night, or at least the previous night and yesterday. A live look at downtown Utica right now. Again, still looking at pretty quiet conditions across the area. A few lingering flurries here and there, but as you can see, a much different scene here in downtown Utica as some areas picked up between 6 inches to as high as around a foot of snow. And currently right now it is 29 degrees. A little bit warmer as you head down the Mohawk Valley into the low to mid 30s. And a live look at the radar right now, really nothing notable, at least for the most part. A few patches of some light flurries here and there from lake effect, but again, looking at mostly quiet weather for today. Our attention turns to the winds, primarily for tomorrow and tomorrow evening specifically. Gusty, strong, even damaging winds possible in the highest elevations tomorrow evening. I'll explain exactly where coming up in just a minute. First, though, I want to briefly explain how winds are caused in the atmosphere using cans of soda. Here's a look at two different cans of soda right here. One is a normal can of soda. The other one, right behind me, is one that you've shaken a little bit. Now, the pressure inside the can is higher than outside in the air. Now, when, of course, you open the can, all that air sprays out until the pressure balances, and of course, no more air sprays out of the can. When you have a soda can that's been shaken up, the pressure is higher in the can. So when you open it up, of course, the air blows very fast outside of it as well. That's a similar story to how the atmosphere works. You've got normal high pressure and normal low pressure. Differences in pressure in the atmosphere cause winds. However, when you have a stronger high pressure and a stronger low pressure, that means those winds are much, much stronger. And that is the setup we'll be seeing as we approach tomorrow. We've got a strong high pressure north of us and a strong low pressure south of us. And right in the middle, sandwiched between the two, will be central New York. Of course, right in the thick of it with a wintry mix and even some rain showers. Now, how much wind are we talking about? Well, starting out in the afternoon with 23 mile per hour wind gusts, but by around 8 p.m., we're thinking wind gusts between 30, 40, 50, even the hilltops, possibly 60 miles per hour. Those are what you usually see in thunderstorms in isolated events. So this is something we usually see here in central New York. And so because of that, a look at our wind risk outlook, downsloping due to multiple higher elevations, as you can see here. Oneonta area, downwind of the Catskills. Parts of Syracuse and the I-90 corridor out here in southwestern Oneida County due to the highest elevations in the southern valleys, and of course up in Watertown due to Tug Hill. And again, the strongest winds are expected by tomorrow evening. There is still additional snowfall expected too as well. However, it might be very difficult to stick. It will be wet in nature starting out, and that warm air surges behind it, switching back over to rain showers. So as quickly as we see this snow, it'll start to melt away. And so very quickly, touching on our Skycast for this afternoon, again, quiet weather for the most part, a few lingering flurries. And then by tomorrow, we're dealing with some wet snow starting out. Start time between 12 and 2 p.m. roughly, and then as you approach the evening hours, that turns over to some rain showers as well. And so for today, again, highs in the low to mid 30s, mostly cloudy, a few lingering flurries tonight. A low at 23 with mostly cloudy skies. Your 7-day forecast, there is a risk for some minor flooding in flood-prone areas tomorrow, but again, thankfully, the heaviest rainfall takes place south and east of our area. But with the snowmelt and some rain, we can't rule out, again, minor flooding in flood-prone areas. Gary?
Eric, thanks. Turning now once again to
Center and Chief Meteorologist Bill Cardis.
We're tracking a warm-up and wind, in fact, an alert day for our next weather maker. The winds are the biggest concern, but there's more going on here than just wind. We could be talking about 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts tomorrow evening and tomorrow night. It starts out as snow, which could cause some tricky travel for the evening commute. And there's also rain with this, too, which could cause some flooding. So a lot going on here with, again, the next weather maker arriving tomorrow. We have high wind warnings in effect, just issued by the National Weather Service for Madison, Oneida, Herkimer, Hamilton, and Lewis counties. That's where the strongest winds in our area are expected tomorrow. We also have a flood watch for the southern valleys. Again, flooding is possible, although I think, again, the wind is going to impact more of the area. Live look at the Yorkville Battery Stern Tracker 2 Doppler radar. Things look quiet. It's a cloudy day. We've been seeing some flurries on and off throughout the day, but it remains pretty quiet this evening. Temperatures in the mid-20s. We're tracking how strong the winds get across the area tomorrow and when those winds come to an end. And also what's ahead, a pretty active stretch of weather. Look at the forecast coming up. Jason, back to you.
All right, Bill, thank you. One day away.
The WKTV Tower Cam is brought to you by the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired. From Central New York's most dependable weather team, here's Chief Meteorologist Bill Cardis.
Good evening. Pretty quiet weather out there today. We get a break in the weather, but only for a short period of time. Our next weather maker is going to be very different than what we had over the weekend. This one accompanied by strong wind. Live looking downtown Utica. Things look pretty quiet out there. Roads are in much better shape than yesterday morning. The winds are going to be picking up over the next 24 hours. In fact, the winds are expected to become damaging in places tomorrow. We're thinking 50, 55, even 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts are possible, especially along higher elevations tomorrow evening and into early tomorrow night. Windy on Wednesday, and the winds will become lighter as we head into Thursday and Friday. The setup is a strong change in pressure. High pressure in control of our weather today is going to be right next to low pressure. And this is going to create a tremendous amount of wind across a large area. So as this next area of low pressure moves in, again, dealing with wind. In addition to wind, we also have snow and rain that go along with it. Let's time things out. Tonight, cloudy skies, light winds. Again, not much going on. Temperatures drop down into the mid-20s. It's quiet to start Tuesday. Your Tuesday morning commute should be fine. The winds will be picking up throughout the afternoon. Snow breaks out in the early afternoon, and there will be a burst of wet snowfall that takes place before the changeover to rain. The good news is we're not seeing much potential for sleet or freezing rain to mix in because it's a pretty strong push of warm air. So that should limit any ice accumulation. But there's more concerns here with the wind, especially as we head into tomorrow evening. And snow does turn over to rain. We'll have some rain showers heading into Wednesday. Snow accumulation a trace to 2 inches before that changeover happens. 2 to 4 inches possible north of the Mohawk Valley. More than 4 inches is possible in the Adirondacks. And here's the bigger concern. It's that wet snow that sticks to the trees, and I don't think it's going to have a chance to melt before the strong winds arrive. In fact, we look at the winds here tomorrow evening. Again, we're looking at widespread 50-plus mile-an-hour wind gusts, especially in and north of the Mohawk Valley. Again, this could cause some damage. This could create some power outages. Again, something to keep in mind here. Make preparations tonight and tomorrow. Bring in any loose objects. And again, be prepared to deal with maybe some cleanup here. We're hoping that's not the case, but again, looking at these numbers, certainly some concerns with that tonight. Cloudy skies tonight, low of 20. Tomorrow, looking at snow developing, turning windy, 37 for the high. Again, snow turns to rain tomorrow night. Rain turns back over to snow on Wednesday, a minor accumulation here, high of 39. It's breezy Thursday, snow showers 36. We're dry on Friday, and then another weather system to track as we head into the weekend. So some pretty active weather ahead, and coming up in a few minutes, we're going to talk more about wind and the science behind it, where it comes from, and why it's expected to become so much tomorrow.
Thank you, Professor. I'm looking forward to that. You are too, trust me.
As temperatures
But I don't know that I'm in. Bill?
I'll take my chances. Hey, let's talk about the science behind wind. This is all based on pressure. So we're using augmented reality and a really creepy hand here. So we're going to open up a can of soda. And as you know, when that happens, the process of the pressure being released makes that wonderful sound, and the pressure going down is wind. What happens is high pressure inside that can is being released into the atmosphere, which is lower pressure, and that's always how wind behaves. We call this in meteorology the pressure gradient force, and what that means is high pressure always goes towards low pressure. In the atmosphere, these weather systems think of them as gigantic cans. And what we're having tomorrow is high pressure next to low pressure, and that difference between the two is what's creating all that wind. And the closer you can get those weather systems together, the more wind you can generate. And we have a pretty strong setup here for tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow evening. Live look at the Yorkville Battery Storm Tracker 2 Doppler radar. Things look pretty quiet. If you're taking the dog out for a walk this evening, the weather looks fine. Looking at cloudy skies, watch out for a few icy spots. Just because of the snow melting today could refreeze on untreated surfaces. Tonight's featured dog, Bailey from Forestport. And if you want to be part of this, head to Skycast, and that's with an E, on Facebook. This is brought to you by Nye Automotive. We're tracking those winds for tomorrow night. Look at the forecasts coming up. Chris, back to you.
Big Papa Gary Spears.
The WKTV Tower Cam is brought to you by the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired. From Central New York's most dependable weather team, here's Chief Meteorologist Bill Curtis.
Good evening. We're continuing to track the potential for strong winds tomorrow night, and it looks to be an area-wide risk in terms of getting wind gusts over 50 miles an hour. There's a slightly lower chance of this happening south and east of Utica, but again, I don't want to downplay any of this, because when you have winds that climb to 50 miles an hour, that is enough to create power outages, and just takes the wrong tree coming down in the wrong area to do that. We're expecting the winds to pick up throughout the day tomorrow. The strongest winds are expected to be in the evening, say between 7 p.m. to 2 o'clock in the morning, and then the winds will start to subside. Again, peak wind gusts over 50 miles an hour. We'll take a closer look at that in just a second. Our temperatures this evening in the 30s. Yorkville 32 degrees, Norway 27, Mohawk 31, Middleville 32, Milford 32, Worcester with 33 degrees. As is very common this time of the year, because temperatures went above freezing today, some of that snow melted, could refreeze on untreated surfaces tonight. Winds are going to be picking up tomorrow as low pressure encounters high pressure. This very strong pressure gradient is going to be responsible for creating all this wind. Tonight, the weather looks quiet. Overnight lows drop down into the mid-20s. We're dry tomorrow morning. The winds will be light in the morning, but they start picking up. You'll notice the winds picking up throughout the course of the day, primarily from the southeast. And as precipitation arrives, the warm air doesn't get here in time, which means it starts out as snow. There could be some slippery spots on area roadways just in time for the evening commute. So the evening commute does look messy. It's this wet snow, so it's going to be very sticky. It looks to stick to trees, power lines, before turning over to rain. This process happens quickly enough where I don't think there's going to be a lot of sleet and or freezing rain this time around. Change over to rain is expected tomorrow night. Temperatures climb above freezing, and then back over to snow showers on Wednesday. There will be some accumulating snow, especially north of the Mohawk Valley. 2 to 4 inches of snow possible. Higher elevations could see 4 to as much as 8 inches of snow, and the lower elevations trace to 2 inches. And again, the concern here is that we get that wet snow, it sticks to the trees, and then it doesn't get a chance to melt in time before the winds arrive. Winds will be picking up throughout the day. Peak wind gusts, thinking, and this is just a model representation, at 9 p.m. between about 50 to 55 miles an hour. I think that's a pretty good idea of what we're thinking across the entire area. Again, tomorrow evening and into early tomorrow night. The winds are expected to quickly drop off as we head into and past midnight, and then breezy weather throughout the week, but not dealing with that strong wind. once we get through tomorrow night. Mostly cloudy tonight, a low of 20. Tomorrow, snow developing, turning windy, a high of 37. Storm Tracker 2 7-day forecast. Wednesday, rain turns back over to snow showers, 39. It's breezy Thursday, some light snow showers. We're dry wet on Friday, and we're watching another storm system that could give us a wintry mix and more wind as we head into Friday night and Saturday. We'll be right back.
With Chief Meteorologist Bill Curtis.
We have a Storm Tracker 2 alert day for tomorrow. Our primary concern, strong and potentially damaging wind as the next storm system arrives. It starts out as snow and then turns over to rain as we head into tomorrow evening. This will impact the evening commute. Again, the snow begins in the afternoon and then it turns over to rain. The strongest winds are expected late tomorrow evening and into early tomorrow night. We're also tracking some rain and snow melt, which could lead to localized flooding. We have a high wind warning in effect for Madison, Herkimer, Hamilton, and Lewis counties, and a wind advisory for Otsego and Chenango counties. So the strongest winds are expected in the Mohawk Valley and North Country late tomorrow evening. We do have a flood watch in effect for the southern valleys. The heaviest rain looks to pass across downstate New York, but we'll be keeping an eye on that too. Live look at the radar. Things look quiet this evening. Temperature-wise, we're 27 degrees, cloudy skies. Things look quiet this evening. Just a couple of flurries are possible. Again, we're tracking the next weather maker, again, primarily bringing some very strong wind, the possibility of some strong winds to our area. We're going to time out when those stronger winds arrive and how strong the winds get across the local area, and that's coming up. Jason, back to you.
Bill, thank you. National Grid is preparing for Tuesday by securing external line crews to help with potential outages. If a power line comes down, you have to assume it's live. Stay away from it. If you have a generator, make sure you keep it outside. And if you have a loved one who depends on electricity for life support equipment like a respirator, you're going to want to make sure they're registered as a life support customer. You can call National Grid for that at 1-800-642-4272.
New tonight, almost all.
The WKTV Tower Cam is brought to you by the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired. From Central New York's most dependable weather team, here's Chief Meteorologist Bill Curtis.
Good evening. We have an active stretch of weather ahead this week. Tonight, things look pretty quiet, but tomorrow, winds are expected to pick up. In fact, by tomorrow evening, we could be seeing wind gusts between 50 to 55 miles an hour, and that could be enough to create some localized damage and power outages. The winds become less throughout the week, but we have another chance of seeing some wind. I don't think quite as strong as we head into the weekend. Our sky watchers are checking in with temperatures in the low 30s, New Hartford 33, Norway 27, Mohawk with 31, Westford 30 degrees, and Worcester 33. Tonight, if you're venturing out, the weather does look quiet, pretty quiet. Just keep in mind, we were above freezing today in a lot of areas, and we'll fall below freezing tonight, so there could be some slippery spots on untreated surfaces. Tomorrow, our next weather maker approaches, and it's going to create a lot more wind than what we're used to. There's going to be a squeeze play happening between high and low pressure. This is creating a very strong change in pressure over distance. That's ultimately what causes wind. And we're going to get a lot of that here as we head into tomorrow. Storm Tracker 2 Skycast, cloudy skies tonight. Overnight lows drop down into the low to mid 20s. We're dry tomorrow for the morning commute. Things look pretty quiet. The winds will be picking up throughout the day. Precipitation initially starts out as snow, and it's that wet snow that sticks to everything, and it could cause some slippery conditions for the evening commute. And then it turns over to rain. I don't expect much in between this time around. I think the changeover is pretty abrupt. But again, it could be enough to create a messy evening commute, and then temperatures climb above freezing with steady rain tomorrow night. Rain turns back over to snow as we head into Wednesday. And before this changeover happens, we're expecting a general trace to 2 inches of accumulation in and south of the Mohawk Valley, 2 to 4 inches of snow possible north of the Mohawk Valley. Some pockets in the higher elevations could pick up more than 4 inches of snow before that changeover happens. And here's the thing. If that snow does accumulate, especially on trees, the strong winds could be more impactful than usual because the snow will make those trees heavier. And we don't think there's going to be much time between when that snow falls and when the wind arrives. So again, the possibility of some damaging winds tomorrow. This is a look at some of the guidance here with computer models, thinking 50 to 55 mile an hour winds are possible tomorrow evening. This is for 9 p.m. So after sunset, we'll be keeping an eye on things. The winds will be dropping back as we head into tomorrow night. Tonight, mostly cloudy, a low of 20. Again, quiet tomorrow morning, but the wind arrives, as does the snow, as we head throughout the day, a high of 37. Storm Tracker 2 7-day forecast. Rain tomorrow night. Rain turns back over to snow showers Wednesday, 39. It's breezy on Thursday, light snow showers. Friday looks dry, and then another large area of low pressure arrives Friday night and into Saturday. Right now, it's that same track, which means it could be dealing with a wintry mix and maybe more wind heading into the weekend, but one storm at a time.
2024 comes, and so does winter.
Very busy, yeah.
All right. Thanks, Bill. Still to come on News Channel 2 at 6, the best plays from the...
News Channel 2 at 10 on CW11 with Jason Palace.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us. Well, we just got cleaned up from the last storm, the 6 to 10 inches of snow that Chief Meteorologist Bill Curtis predicted, and now another storm, but we're not talking nearly as much snow, a lot different this time around.
Yeah, the primary concern is going to be wind. We do get snow from this.
Yep.
So don't be surprised if it starts out as snow tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow evening, a couple of slippery spots, but it's the wind that's getting us the most attention tonight.
Yeah.
50-mile-an-hour winds. It's been a couple of years since we've had winds expected to be this strong for this many places.
Let me ask you a question. What is blizzard winds? 50 or 60?
Well, this would be blizzard-style winds. We just are not going to have the visibility criteria.
Gotcha.
You have to have whiteout.
Switches over to rain.
Yeah, and you have to have whiteout. You have to have whiteout, so the snow won't be hard enough for a blizzard.
Gotcha.
But again, that wind is going to be quite strong. It's power outages that we're concerned about tonight. We're hoping that it's not as windy as we're expecting, but again, 50-mile-an-hour winds, enough for high wind warnings for Oneida, Madison, Herkimer, Hamilton, and Lewis counties tonight. We also have the possibility of some flooding, especially south of the Mohawk Valley due to melting snow and locally heavy rain. Live look at the Yorkville Battery Storm Tracker 2 Doppler radar. It's dry tonight. The weather's pretty quiet. Current temperature is 29 degrees, cloudy skies. We'll drop down into the low 20s tonight. The weather starts out quiet tomorrow too, but again, things are going to start to ramp up throughout the day. We're tracking the projected winds, when the snow arrives, when it turns over to rain, and how much we're talking about here and when this all comes to an end. That's coming up. Jason, back to you.
Bill, thank you. National Grid preparing for tomorrow by securing external line crews to help with potential power outages. If a power line comes down, you have to assume it's live. Stay away from it. And if you have a generator, make sure you keep it outside. Also, if you have a loved one who depends on electricity for life support equipment, like a respirator, you're going to want to make sure they're registered as a life support customer, and you can do that by calling National Grid at 1-800-642-4272. We are not the only ones dealing with these storms. New tonight, more than 70 million people in the U.S. are at risk for severe weather as this week begins. The storm barreling from the southwest right up here to the northeast, bringing threats of tornadoes, damaging winds, flooding, rain, and even blizzard conditions, as it's expected to cover more than 1,800 miles in just 72 hours. Emily Schmidt has more on what could be in store.
On a day football fans came to Houston for the College Football Playoff National Championship, the threat of severe weather came too. The Storm Prediction Center posted the first tornado watch of the year for nearly 9 million people, including those in Houston, for a system packing different potential punches along its way.
Hope for the best, play for the worst.
Milwaukee's getting out snow gear. Winter weather alerts in place through Tuesday evening could bring parts of the Midwest up to 11 inches of blowing snow.
It started out slow, but it's been building. Everybody's starting to get prepared.
Sections of interstates in Colorado, Kansas, and New Mexico shut down in blizzard warnings. More than 100 miles closed in both directions in Kansas. In Iowa, with the Republican presidential caucuses 1 week away, candidate Nikki Haley's campaign canceled an event due to the storm, drawing criticism from another candidate.
If you can't handle the snow, you're not ready for Xi Jinping. That's my view.
Predictions of what could lie ahead are striking and being taken seriously. Louisiana State University closed midday Monday due to the severe weather forecasts, while Florida's Department of Education announced at least 23 school districts will close Tuesday. Florida saw over the weekend that January tornadoes can happen. This EF0 twister spent about 3 minutes on the ground in Fort Lauderdale Saturday. That system dumped enough snow on the Northeast that some spent Monday without power, appreciating the winter force of nature. I'm Emily Schmidt reporting.
Police are asking for your help as they investigate the fatal shooting of a 15-year-old.
The WKTV Tower Cam is brought to you by the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired. From Central New York's most dependable weather team, here's Chief Meteorologist Bill Curtis.
Good evening. We're expecting strong winds tomorrow night, 50 to 55 miles an hour. Gusts could create some damage, could cause some scattered power outages. We think the strongest winds in the area will be primarily along higher terrain, especially the northwestern facing slopes of our area. So again, higher terrain, more likelihood to see wind gusts over 55 miles an hour. But again, many of us dealing with some of those strong winds beginning tomorrow afternoon and really ramping up through tomorrow evening and early, past midnight. Damaging winds possible tomorrow. The winds will become lighter as we head throughout the week. Live look at the radar. Again, things look quiet. The winds are coming from a change in pressure between high pressure and an approaching area of low pressure. So in addition to the wind, we also have a wintry mix, and it's mainly snow and rain that look to arrive as we head into tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow evening. Timing things out tonight, it's quiet. We're looking at cloudy skies. Overnight lows drop down into the mid-20s. The winds start to pick up tomorrow. At 7 o'clock in the morning, it's dry. So if you're heading to work or school, the morning should be fine. The afternoon features a burst of snow that arrives in the late afternoon. This is not expected to produce much accumulation, but for a very short period of time, it could cause some slippery roads. Temperatures climb above freezing, and this happens relatively quickly, so I don't think we're going to be dealing with a sleet or freezing rain scenario this time around. But look at the winds. Those are really going to be ramping up as we get into tomorrow evening. Temperatures climb above freezing overnight. Snowfall forecast: a trace to 2 inches of snow for the Mohawk and Southern Valleys, 2 to 4 inches of snow possible north of the valley. Some of the higher terrain could get more than 4 inches of snow, and that could become extra problematic with the wind because that snow will be very sticky, sticking to trees and power lines. When we combine that with 50 to 55 mile an hour winds, again, that could lead to some damage, some trees taking some wind damage here tomorrow night. The winds will start to subside after midnight. In fact, by Wednesday morning, things really quiet down. We'll see breezy conditions Wednesday afternoon, but the damaging winds, again, will be confined to late tomorrow evening. Mostly cloudy skies tonight, low of 20. Tomorrow, again, the winds pick up from the southeast, becoming strong and potentially damaging here tomorrow evening, a high of 37. Stern Tracker 2 7-day forecast. It's a pretty active week. We do have some light snow showers, breezy weather on Thursday. Friday looks dry, but we're tracking another one Friday night and into Saturday. This one has similarities to what we're going to be dealing with here tomorrow with wind and a wintry mix. And it gets colder here Sunday and Monday.
It's batten down the hatches, get ready.
Yes.
All right, thank you, Bill. Coming up next.
You're watching News Channel 2 at 11 with Jason Powers.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Just as we get all cleaned up from the 6 to 10 inches of snow that Chief Meteorologist Bill Curtis predicted, now there's another storm. Not nearly as much snow with this one, but it could pack some damaging winds.
Yeah, this is going to be a very different type of storm. We're not going to be seeing this really heavy snowfall accumulation. We will see snow on the onset, but the big story we think is going to be with the wind. Yeah. We're talking wind gusts between 50 to 55 miles an hour.
We haven't seen that in a while.
It has been a while to see this type of wind for this extent of an area. We're thinking the Mohawk Valley, the North Country, seeing this wind. There's also going to be some locally heavy rain too. So again, the primary concern with this alert day is the potential for damaging wind. The timeline works out like this. The snow arrives between about noon to 2 p.m., turns over to rain, and then the damaging winds come in later in the evening. High winds warnings in effect for Madison, Oneida, Herkimer, Hamilton, Lewis counties. Again, these areas in particular could see the strongest winds as this area of low pressure moves through. Yorkville Battery Storm Tracker 2 Doppler radar looking quiet out there this evening. Temperature is 30 degrees, cloudy skies. Tonight, the weather remains pretty quiet. Overnight lows drop down to near 20. The winds pick up throughout the day tomorrow, and again, the snow arrives. We're tracking how strong the winds get and when this comes to an end. That's coming up. Jason, back to you.
Bill, thank you. National Grid preparing for tomorrow by securing external line crews to help with potential outages. Remember, if a power line comes down, you have to assume it's live. Just stay away from it. Also, if you have a generator, make sure you keep it outside. And if you have loved ones who depend on electricity for life support equipment, like maybe a respirator, you're going to want to make sure they're registered as a life support customer. And you can do that by calling National Grid at 1-800-642-4272. We are not the only ones dealing with these storms. New tonight, more than 70 million people in the U.S. are at risk for severe weather. And all begins as the week starts, the storm barreling from the southwest right up to the northeast, bringing threats of tornadoes, damaging winds, flooding rain, even blizzard conditions in some areas. And get this, the storm is expected to cover more than 1,800 miles in just 72 hours. Emily Schmidt has more on what could be in store.
On a day football fans came to Houston for the College Football Playoff National Championship, the threat of severe weather came too. The Storm Prediction Center posted the first tornado watch of the year for nearly 9 million people, including those in Houston, for a system packing different potential punches along its way.
Hope for the best, plan for the worst.
Milwaukee's getting out snow gear. Winter weather alerts in place through Tuesday evening could bring parts of the Midwest up to 11 inches of blowing snow.
It started out slow, but it's been building. Everybody's starting to get prepared.
Sections of interstates in Colorado, Kansas, and New Mexico shut down in blizzard warnings. More than 100 miles closed in both directions in Kansas. In Iowa, with the Republican presidential caucuses 1 week away, candidate Nikki Haley's campaign canceled an event due to the storm, drawing criticism from another candidate.
If you can't handle the snow, you're not ready for Xi Jinping. That's my view.
Predictions of what could lie ahead are striking and being taken seriously. Louisiana State University closed midday Monday due to the severe weather forecasts, while Florida's Department of Education announced at least 23 school districts will close Tuesday. Florida saw over the weekend that January tornadoes can happen. This EF0 twister spent about 3 minutes on the ground in Fort Lauderdale Saturday. That system dumped enough snow on the Northeast that some spent Monday without power, appreciating the winter force of nature. I'm Emily Schmidt reporting.
Police are asking for your help as they investigate the
The WKTV Tower Cam is brought to you by the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired. From Central New York's most dependable weather team, here's Chief Meteorologist Bill Curtis.
Good evening. We are taking a close look at the timeline for tomorrow as our next weather maker brings a lot of wind to our area. It starts out as snow tomorrow between noon to 2 p.m. It's a wet, slushy inch of accumulation for most areas. The snow changes to rain in the evening. The strongest winds arrive later in the day. The winds will be picking up throughout the day, but they're strongest between 6 to 11 p.m. Widespread wind gusts 45 to 55 miles an hour expected. And again, that could be enough to cause some damage, especially with this idea of a wet, slushy snow sticking to trees before that wind arrives. It could make things a little bit worse than usual, just kind of adding extra weight to the trees. We're hoping that that doesn't happen, but again, be prepared to be dealing with that here later in the day. Again, strong winds expected tomorrow. The winds will become lighter as we head throughout the week. Live look at the Yorkville Battery Storm Tracker 2 Doppler radar. The weather looks pretty quiet. This wind is being generated by an area of low pressure and high pressure. This is called a very strong temperature gradient, and that's the source of wind this time around. Again, the predominant wind direction is coming from the southeast. Tonight, cloudy skies, overnight lows drop down into the mid-20s. Tomorrow, we start out the day dry. The winds will be picking up throughout the day. Again, the snow arrives noon to 2 p.m. That continues through the evening commute. There could be a few slippery spots here. A relatively quick changeover from snow to rain, so I think this sleet freezing rain is going to be pretty limited. I don't think that's going to be as big of a concern here this time around. A windy one tomorrow night. Temperatures climb above freezing overnight with more rain expected. Rainfall totals with the turnover, we're thinking between about ½ inch to 1 inch of rain. Could still see some flooding with this, but again, with the widespread wind, we think that's going to be more problematic. Rain showers turn over to snow showers here on Wednesday with some minor accumulation. Snowfall before the changeover tomorrow looks to be a trace to 2 inches for the Mohawk Valley, 2 to 4 inches possible north of the Mohawk Valley. Now to the winds. Again, they pick up throughout the day. 10 o'clock in the morning, wind gusts between about 25 to 30 miles an hour. The strongest winds happen by the evening. This is 9 p.m. You can see wind gusts 50 to 55 miles an hour. The winds will quickly subside after midnight, and then they pick up again on Wednesday, but again, not as strong. Mostly cloudy skies tonight, low of 20. Tomorrow, snow breaks out in the afternoon. It turns over to rain in the evening. A windy afternoon and a very windy evening. A high of 37. Stern Tracker 2 7-day forecast. Rain turns back to snow on Wednesday, 39. Breezy snow showers Thursday. We're dry Friday. I think we're going to be dealing with another one similar to tomorrow on Friday night and into Saturday. But we'll take things one day at a time.
And let's just kind of set the stage too. Afternoon, buses driving home from work. It'll be a little dicey because it's going to be windy and a little bit snowy at that point, right?
Right, and the strongest winds are going to be happening later in the day. But yeah, there could be some slippery spots on the roadways later tomorrow.
Something to just take your time with.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, Bill. Coming up next, major change.